So ever since I was about 19 years old, I've been obsessed with the idea of investing, okay? And the whole idea behind investing is I want to put money in the stock market and take more money out. You can make it sound fancy by saying, I want to be an investor, I want to be an analyst, I want to be this and that. At the end of the day, we want to put money in and take more money out. Now, I live by this very strange, simple philosophy, which is basically monkey see, monkey do. And it's very important for me because it's one of the only ways that I learn. So my mentor is Warren Buffett, the best investor ever. Now, the problem is whenever somebody really understands something, they tend to oversimplify it to a point where you're like, this is so simple, but you don't know how to do anything, okay? It's kind of like when I went fishing with my cousin for the first time, he told me, Tommy, this is simple. Just throw it in, you wait until something bites, and then you pull it, and then boom, you caught a fish. Now, I did that for about 4 to 5 hours. 5 hours later, he has a bunch of fishes, and I have nothing. And that's when I realized that it's not that simple, and masters tend to oversimplify things to a level that doesn't really help when you're trying to learn. So for this video, I titled it Investing for Dummies because when I was a dummy, I wish someone would have told me these things like this. Now in this video, I promise you one thing. You will not hear words like P ratio, book value, balance sheet, cash flow statements, income statement. And you might say, Tommy, well, that's what investing is. Yes, but at a concrete, simple level, it's a lot more simple than you think. And I guarantee you one thing. If you watch this video all the way through, you will learn something. And if you don't, I will give you all your money back. And since you're not paying, I have nothing to lose, okay? Now, as always, guys, like this video and top out. Also, subscribe and hit the bell to get notified. Now, the very first thing, guys, is when I wanted to learn about investing, I always heard this same exact quote from Warren Buffett, my mentor. He was saying, Tommy, the goal with investing is you want to know the value of a company. You want to buy it for less than it's worth. You hold on to it and you make money, okay? And again, it sounds so simple. And he has this very good quote that says, the value of a business is the cash it's going to produce in the future. And again, that sounds so simple. Of course, a business makes cash. The cash you get is what it's worth. But you're like, well, what do I do with that information? Like, how do I actually make sense of that? Well, I'm going to make you guys understand it by giving you a very simple example. Now, we all know what a farm is. We all know what farm animals are. And this is the way I'm going to explain it. Now, if a farmer is trying to sell you a chicken, how do you basically value that chicken to know what price to pay for it? Now, obviously, this farmer has his price, right? So you got to basically know what it's actually worth. Now, let's say this chicken costs about $100. The chicken is $100. Now, this chicken is able to hash around, for example, $20 net profit, free cash flow worth of eggs, okay? Once the whole year is over, you sell all the eggs, you pay all the expenses, you invest some money for the egg coop. What's left in free cash flow, free cash that doesn't have to be reinvested back into the business is $20. So how do you know exactly how much money to pay for this chicken if you also know this chicken is only probably gonna live for about 10 years or so? The answer is very simple. If the chicken is worth the value of all the money is going to make in its entire life, then obviously the value of this chicken is $20 that it actually makes me every single year in free cash flow, multiplied by its lifespan of, in this case, 10 years, and that is 20 times 10 years is 200. So if I'm paying $100 for the chicken and I get $200 in 10 years total, well, is that a good deal to pay for this chicken? The answer is yes, it is, but it doesn't end there because there is another level to invest in. So right there, I hope you guys understand this, okay? The chicken is a business. What it makes in eggs and profits, that's the cash it produces. So that's the overall idea. That's what he means and they mean when they say a business is worth all of its future cash flows. And that's why it's so important to understand the business, because if you can't predict with certainty, well, to a certain level of certainty, what this chicken is going to produce or this business is going to produce over a long period of time, you're going to have a hard time basically understanding the value. But that's the value of this chicken. It is $200. That's how you do it. However, though, there is another factor to this entire idea of valuation, and it's basically discount rate. Tommy, you promised me not to complicate it, so please keep it simple. Don't worry, I got you, okay? So discount rate is to saying, well, I'm investing some money into this chicken, $100. It's gonna make me $20 a year in free cash flow. It's worth about $200 or so, but is it really worth $200? The answer is no. And let me explain why. Because the farmer also has a deal where he tells you, hey, if you would invest into this cow for $100, I'm gonna guarantee you 3% in profits, okay? No matter what, if the cow dies, if it stops producing milk, no matter what, I'm gonna give you 3% without any risk, okay? So that's called the risk-free rate. So you have to punish what you're going to get from this chicken against what you would have gotten by investing with a farmer at a risk-free rate. Basically meaning, I have to make a better return than 3% because I'm taking on risk by investing my money into this chicken. That's all they're saying when they say discount rate. It makes so much sense when you think about it with chickens and cows. I don't know why, but it just does. So how do you go about basically making a mathematical equation when it comes to, well, what is this money going to be worth? Because obviously $20 today in free cash flow is not worth the same as $20 in 10 years, okay? Because obviously things have happened since then, and that money is not worth that much. So we have to go ahead and discount those cash flows to what they would actually be worth today. And that is called present value. Now I have here prepared for you guys with my expertise what I called an Excel sheet, okay? And like I say, I am very professional. And by the way, the discount rate formula, I'm gonna say this formula, you don't have to learn it, it's just a formula. And formulas are meant to help you. You don't have to remember them. You can always just look them up on Google. So okay, so don't worry. So the formula to calculate the discount rate is basically, or the discount factor is 1 divided by, parentheses, 1 plus R, where R is the discount rate, raised to the power of the amount of years or whatever, okay, or that current year. I'll show you guys over here, so don't worry if you don't get it that much, okay? But here is my fancy Excel sheet. As you guys can see, I'm a very professional guy. You know, I got the chickens, I got everything here, looks great, okay? So I know this looks like it's a lot of stuff going on here, but trust me, give me a second and I'm gonna break it down exactly like you need to understand. In order to figure out what every single $20 is going to be worth, for example, on year 1, year 2, year 3, we have to get a discount rate. It's the rate at basically, we're gonna discount those cash flows against what we could have made at a risk-free rate. That's the whole idea. It's very simple. But in this case, this chicken right here cost us $100. It makes us $20 a year in free cash flow, and the discount rate is 3%. How do we know it's 3%? Because the farmer is offering us 3% in free money, and it's basically good to go. Now, what is that in the real world? That's basically what the average bond pays us over 10 years. That's what it is, because our risk-free equivalent is the government. Because if the government gives you 3% on a bond, that's risk-free because they can't lose because they can always just print more money. But overall, that's our risk-free rate, and the time is obviously 10 years. Now, up here you have the years, as you guys can see. Over here we have the cash flow, which is just 20 years over 10 years. And over here we have basically the discount rate. This is the discount factor. And again, it's just 1 divided plus the discount factor. Again, it seems complicated, but you don't have to remember this. It's a formula. I can get you this sheet if you want to. You can basically evaluate investment the same exact way. But overall, our discount factor for year 1 is 0.97. So $20 on year 1, the entire year, is only worth $19.42 because basically we could have gotten 3% from the farmer for something else. Now by year 5, those same $20, now we're being discounted at a higher rate because obviously it's later on into the future and compounded across, it would have been worth a lot more obviously. So now we're looking at only $17.25. And then by the end of the 10-year mark, $20 in 10 years is only really worth around $14.88. So overall, to get the present value, we're just going to sum up the total of the cash flows, okay, after they've been discounted. So overall, we're looking at, hey, the summary of these cash flows, we're looking at it's about $170.60. So what does that mean? The present value of those $200 we're going to get into the future today would only be worth around $170. So the question becomes, if we pay $100 for this chicken and it makes us $170, is it worth the investment? The answer is yes, obviously, because 170 is a lot more than $100. It's that simple. Now, there's also a second part, which is called net present value, which is basically what's the difference between what we're going to get in the future minus our current cost, which is $100. The answer is $70. If this number is positive, it tells us, hey, we just created some value. Now, you might think, Tommy, wow, this is amazing, okay? This is awesome. I'm kind of understanding it, okay? So overall, again, to return here, we'll go back to that in a second, don't worry. But overall, what I'm saying is this. The value of a business is worth, intrinsic value, is the cash flow is going to produce over its lifetime. This is a lot more simple because we know this chicken is not going to live past 10 years. Now, in order to calculate a business, is going to be a lot more different, right? Because in a sense, we're going to calculate it for a lifetime, maybe 100 years or so. So you're not going to go into Excel and do 100 years. You can just use another formula, which is basically terminal value. And that's another video for another day. But overall, that's what we want to get. So if we know the cash flow, total sums are going to be $200 for this chicken over 10 years. Well, what's the present value of those cash flows? We know it's $170 because every time we have to wait to get that money, it's 3% we're not getting. So we're discounting that money for today's value. That's the idea. Those are the two most important concepts of investing. If you get it, it's amazing. Now, the third step here is, well, it's called margin of safety. Now, whenever somebody builds a bridge and they say, well, you know, in this bridge, we can fit about 100 cars. Do you think they say, well, let's just make sure the bridge can handle 100 cars worth of weight? The answer is no. They obviously make the bridge a lot stronger and powerful to be able to sustain the weight of maybe 200 cars or 500 cars because you don't want to cut it too thin, if you know what I mean, okay? That's the idea. So what does margin of safety have to do with this chicken example? Well, the truth is that although the chicken we were sold looks pretty healthy, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. It might get sick. It might try to practice abstinence and say, hey, I'm done making eggs. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen to those cash flows in the future. So in order to make sure we adjust for the unknown, we have to buy this chicken below what it's worth. It's that simple. So if we know the chicken is worth $170 because we just did the math, the answer is we want to pay below $170, not by $5 or $10, by a good amount of margin, maybe 50% or 30%. That way, if something happens along the way, we can say, well, we've adjusted for that and we're still going to make money. Now, let me show you why this actually makes so much sense because it's actually very important. So check this out, guys. Okay, we're back again to our chicken example here. And if you guys notice here, if you paid $100 for this chicken, right? Let's say you pay too much for it. Maybe let's say you paid $150 for this chicken. Now, all of a sudden, your net present value is only $20, meaning, hey, you made less money, but you still created value. But let's say along the way, in the next 5 years, the last 5 years, the chicken got sick, or it said, I'm done making eggs, I'm practicing abstinence. And he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna do about $10 worth of eggs now, okay? Well, what happens exactly here? The answer is, hey, the present value of this chicken now is only $131, and we paid $150. Obviously, we overpaid for this chicken. On top of that, our net present value now becomes negative $18.90. So that means we basically lost money, destroyed value. So that's why it's so important. When you buy something, you buy it below what it's worth. So obviously, if the chicken is going to cost us $100 and it's actually worth $170, and we're actually buying it for 70% discount, is that an appropriate margin of safety? In this case, it is. But if we're buying it at $150, something goes wrong, it's not good enough. So you have to look around for better chickens, okay? So now that's the third part, margin of safety. And the idea is simple. It's buying something for below what it's worth to adjust for the future and what you don't know about it. Now, the fourth part here is the market. And the market in this example is obviously the farmer. We don't know what this farmer is going to do. One day he offers you a chicken for $100. One day he offers it to you for $150, $200, $1,000. Okay, you really don't know. And the good thing about this farmer is he's always willing to sell you a chicken, and he's always willing to buy a chicken from you. So if this farmer sells you a chicken today for $100 and tomorrow he wants $300 for it, do you sell it or do you buy it? It's pretty obvious. Just sell it because it's only worth $170, right? It's very simple to understand when to sell a stock and when to buy a stock, okay? Because, you know, this chicken is not going to make more eggs all of a sudden. So it's worth what it's worth. If you're paying me a lot more, I'm going to sell it. Now, and I also get the money now, which is actually a lot better. I can invest into something else. Now, there's also another part, which is obviously everyone else that's investing with you. Now, every now and then, there's going to be a new chicken in town. This chicken is black now, this chicken is white now, this chicken is purple, this one is yellow, this one is this one's that, and this chicken can do this chicken can do that. And the overall idea is, in business, this chicken can make me more money, this one is a lot more potential, this one is all about money. It's about producing more money, more profits. So one day, there's gonna be a chicken, and this chicken, they're gonna say, hey, this chicken can actually make you 500 eggs a year. 500 eggs. How do you do it? Well, you just inject this chicken with another chicken, and all of a sudden it can do it. It sounds crazy because it's stupid when you think about it. Now, the idea is, you probably know, there's no track record that a chicken can basically do 500 eggs. There's no evidence, there's no data, there's no quantifiable information, so you avoid those chickens. But there will be other people that will be willing to take on that risk. And that's what you want to avoid. The game of investing is investing into chickens that you really understand. Now, over time, of course, right, the chicken operation can become a lot better because the farmer can get a lot more innovative when it comes to what he feeds the chicken, how he houses them, how he does everything to maybe produce, for example, maybe instead of $20 of the profit, maybe $35, maybe $40 and so on, right? But whenever something sounds too insane, too good to be true, and there's no track record, you usually want to avoid that. And that's what we call Mr. Market. Mr. Market is the stock market. It's that farmer. The farmer is there to assist you, not to tell you what something is worth. Because the true worth of something comes from the cash you can basically take out of it. So if you bought a chicken today for $100, and the farmer tells you, I'm only willing to give you $1 for it now. The answer is, wait, what? $1 for my chicken that's going to make me $170 present value today? That's stupid, but guess what? I'll take 100 more. Give it to me. Now you have now you have 101 chicken with your chicken that are gonna make you, that are worth today $170 each, because they can basically make you so much more money. You see what I'm saying? So if you know the value of something and you buy below that, you make money. Whenever the market is overvalued, you ignore it because that's all you can do. It doesn't make sense to buy something that takes on too much risk. That's the idea. When there's some new technology out there that tells you, hey, we can teleport these chickens to Asia, and all of a sudden they're making us 1,000 eggs a day. Excuse me? You know what I mean? I'm gonna wait until I actually see some evidence here. That's the idea, okay, guys? But guys, that is it for this video. I hope you go out of this video understanding chickens because I really don't know anything about chickens. But I do know something about investing, all right? And I hope this video actually made a lot of sense and you really understand it, okay, guys? That is it for me. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, I want you guys to comment down below chicken, all right? So I know you made it all the way to the end. If you have any questions, comment down below, let me know. Up here is another video. Over here is my face. Please subscribe. And as always, long-term team officially out. At TommyBryson if you want to DM me about anything, okay? Peace out, guys.